ton of stuff about Cane Corso DNA testing.
Yeah, articles, websites, all kinds of things.
Someone's serious about getting to the bottom of their pup's genes, huh?
Really wanting to decode everything.
Beyond just like, is this a purebred Cane Corso kind of thing, right?
Exactly. It's like they want to know everything DNA can tell you.
About health, history, maybe even like personality.
Total.
I gotta admit, I'm kind of curious myself.
Yeah.
We hear about human DNA tests all the time, but for dogs,
It's a whole different world.
it's a whole different world. Yeah.
It's amazing what they can find out from, like, just a cheek swab.
Really?
One of the biggest things, though, is those potential health risks.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. Like Cane Corsos, they're prone to certain things. Hip dysplasia comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Can these tests tell you, hey, your dog's likely to have this problem down the road?
Absolutely. For example, if the DNA test shows that they're predisposed to hip dysplasia, then you can talk to your vet about, like, preventative stuff.
Oh.
Maybe certain exercises, supplements, even thinking about later down the line if surgery is needed.
Wow.
But knowing that early can make a huge difference
Huge difference, yeah.
for their health, how long they live, their quality of life.
It's like almost like a crystal ball, right? You can be prepared,
Yeah.
protect them from future issues.
Exactly.
But what about, like, we talk about hip dysplasia, but there's other genetic stuff that can get passed down through generations.
Sure.
Can these tests help with that too?
Definitely. And this is where responsible breeding becomes super important. One of the sources we had, Doodle Patch Farm, they really stress this
Oh.
DNA testing is, like, the key for breeders who want to make sure they're having healthy puppies
Oh, okay.
by figuring out which dogs have genes for certain conditions. They can choose who to breed with who.
So it's not just about, like, my dog. It's about the whole,
It's the whole breed.
the breed, yeah,
Yeah, like a group effort to keep these amazing dogs healthy.
for generations to come.
Exactly.
Okay, you've convinced me on the health stuff alone. I think that's a good enough reason to do it. But what else can we learn? You mentioned family history earlier.
Oh, right. So DNA tests can actually trace your Cane Corso's lineage. Kind of like putting together a family tree form.
Wow.
And this is especially important for people who want to, like, officially register their dogs with certain organizations, like the Designer Kennel Club.
The Designer Kennel Club. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, so they focus on recognizing those designer dog breeds. And for Cane Corso owners who are thinking about showing their dogs or breeding,
Okay.
having that pedigree is a big deal.
So it's like proof of your dog's ancestry.
It is.
But is it just like bragging rights, or is there more to it?
There's a whole deeper level to the lineage stuff. It's about understanding genetic diversity within the breed.
Oh, okay.
And the more diverse the gene pool is, the healthier they tend to be.
So it's like with any species, right? Diversity is key to survival. But how does that work for, like, our individual dogs,
Well, imagine if every Cane Corso came from a really tiny group of ancestors. That limited gene pool. It could mean more inherited diseases.
Oh.
And even things like temperament, behavior
Oh,
that
interesting.
to be affected.
So knowing your dog's lineage can help you understand, like, their background,
Yeah, like their genetic background.
like the risk factors or whatever,
Totally. And it helps researchers and breeders work together to make sure the breed stays healthy.
long term.
Long term, yeah.
Wow, it's like uncovering hidden chapters in their story.
Kind of, yeah.
But I gotta ask, how complicated is all this testing?
Oh, it's super easy.
Really?
Most of these kits you could do right at home.
Okay,
No need to go to the vet.
no needles or anything?
Nope, usually just a cheek swab.
A cheek swab.
Yeah, you just collect a little bit of drool.
I'm sure Cane Corso owners are used to dealing with drool.
Probably, yeah.
So that's good. That's good.
Yeah, it's really accessible.
That's great to hear.
And the results they give you are pretty amazing. They break down your dog's breed, tell you about potential health risks, even give you insights about their ancestry.
Okay, so we've covered health benefits, the ancestry stuff, ease of testing. What else can these DNA tests tell us?
Well, some of them can even give you insights into their personality traits.
Wait, really? So, like, we could find out if our Cane Corso is predisposed to being a couch potato or a wild child?
That's a question a lot of people have,
Yeah.
yeah. And this is one we're going to get into more detail on in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh, I am hooked already, so stay tuned, folks. Things are about to get really interesting. Okay, so we're back and ready to unpack this whole personality trait thing. Can we really peek into our dog's personality just from their DNA?
It's definitely a hot topic in research, and things are still changing all the time. More discoveries are being made.
Right.
One of our sources, Patricia McConnell. She's a pretty well-known animal behaviorist.
I think I've heard that name.
Yeah, she actually looked at a popular DNA test, Wisdom Panel.
Wisdom panel. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, they test a bunch of different breeds.
Not just Cane Corsos.
Not just Cane Corsos.
Okay.
And her big takeaway was DNA can give you some hints about behavior.
Okay.
But you got to remember, environment and how they're raised plays a huge part too.
So it's not like you get the test back and it's like, here's your dog's complete personality.
Not at all.
More like a starting point.
Yeah, think of it like this. The DNA is kind of like a blueprint,
Oh, okay.
like a set of possibilities.
Right.
But how those actually play out depends on so many things.
Like what?
How they were socialized as a puppy, the training they get, where they live, even their bond with you makes a difference.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, every dog is an individual, right?
Exactly.
Their personality is going to be nature and nurture.
Exactly.
But if these tests can pick up on certain tendencies, couldn't that be helpful for training?
Absolutely.
Especially with Cane Corsos, we know they can be strong-willed.
Yes, and protective. For example, let's say the test suggests your Cane Corso has a strong prey drive.
Okay.
Knowing that, you'd be extra careful with recall training.
Oh, that's smart.
Maybe even use a special harness when you're walking them in areas with squirrels or rabbits.
Yeah, you don't want them taking off after something.
Exactly.
So it's like having a little heads up.
It is.
You can be proactive, tailor your training.
Exactly. And this goes back to ethical breeding, too.
Okay.
Responsible breeders, they use this information not to try and create a specific personality,
Right.
but to understand potential challenges, make sure the puppy goes to the right home.
So it's about finding the right fit.
Exactly.
Not like designing the perfect personality.
Right, because both genetics and environment shape who they are. You just want to make sure their needs are met. Speaking of needs, remember we talked about genetic diversity?
Yeah, for physical health.
Right, it helps avoid those inherited diseases.
Heartbreaking stuff.
It really is. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some researchers think genetic diversity might actually be linked to personality diversity, too.
Wait, really? So, like, a lack of diversity could not only mean more health problems, but also less variety in their personalities.
That's one theory they're looking at.
So instead of having some Cane Corsos who are playful and goofy,
Right.
and others who are more serious and watchful,
Yeah.
we might end up with, like, all of them being super high energy.
Yeah, or all super laid back.
That might sound good to some people, I guess.
It might.
But isn't that bad for the breed overall?
It could be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because different personalities have different strengths, right?
Like, a playful Cane Corso might be great for a family,
Right.
but a more watchful one would be a better working dog.
Exactly. Diversity lets them thrive in different roles, different places.
Makes the whole breed stronger.
Exactly. More adaptable, more resilient.
Okay, so genetic diversity isn't just about physical health. It's about keeping all those different Cane Corso personalities.
That make the breed so special.
And make the breed so special, exactly.
It all goes back to responsible breeding,
Right.
focusing on that diversity.
Okay, so DNA can tell us about personality,
It can.
but it's not like a fortune teller, right?
Not at all.
It's one piece of the puzzle.
And as owners, we got to put all the pieces together.
Genetics, environment, training.
To help our Cane Corsos be their best selves.
I love that it's like we're dog detectives now.
Kinda. Yeah.
Uncovering secrets in their DNA and using that to give them the best care possible.
The more we learn, the better we can be for our dogs.
It's really empowering.
Right.
But let's bring it back to our listener for a minute. They've clearly done their research on this DNA stuff, probably eager to put it all into practice. So what's the next step?
Well, if they haven't already, time to pick a good DNA testing company and order a kit.
Okay.
Then once they get those results, they can start using all this knowledge.
The results are just the beginning, right?
Exactly. It's about making good decisions for your dog's care, training, their whole well-being.
This has been an amazing deep dive.
It has.
We've learned so much about Cane Corso DNA.
We've only scratched the surface.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface. There's so much more.
There's always more to learn.
But I think we've given our listener a good foundation
A good place to start.
for exploring this whole canine genetics thing.
Absolutely.
Big thanks to our listener for sending in all these sources. It's your questions that keep these deep dives going.
Yeah, thank you.
We really appreciate it.
So to everyone out there thinking about DNA testing their Cane Corso, go for it.
You might be surprised by what you find out.
You might be.
And remember, this is just the start of the adventure.
The best part is using this knowledge to get even closer to your dog.
Exactly. Until next time, keep those tails wagging. All right, so we've gone over all the amazing things Cane Corso DNA testing can do.
Yeah, for their health, history, even personality.
It's a lot to take in.
It is
But now I'm curious about, like, the nuts and bolts.
the actual process.
Yeah, what's it actually like to do this?
Well, the good news is it's super easy
Yeah.
and convenient. Most companies have these at-home kits.
Oh, okay.
Makes it really simple.
So break it down for me. What's in these kits?
So usually you get a cheek swab
Oh, okay.
to collect the DNA sample
From your dog.
from your dog.
Is that like a Q-tip kind of thing?
Kind of like a little brush you rub on the inside of their cheek.
I'm guessing Cane Corsos aren't too fussy about that.
Probably not.
They're pretty chill dogs most of the time.
Yeah, and the kit will have step-by-step instructions
Oh, good.
to make sure you get a good sample.
Okay, and then what?
You seal it up in a container they give you, mail it back.
They give you a prepaid envelope and everything.
Exactly. Super easy.
So even I could handle it.
Even you could handle it.
But what happens once they get the sample at the lab?
So they extract the DNA
Okay.
and run it through all this fancy tech
Yeah.
that compares it to a huge database.
Of canine genetic markers, right?
Yeah, all those dog genes.
And then what? Do I get a textbook in the mail?
No, no textbook.
Filled with science stuff. I don't understand.
No, the results usually come online
Okay.
in a way that's easy to read even if you're not a scientist.
Oh, that's good.
You'll see things like what breeds make up your dog,
Right.
information about potential health risks,
Mm-hmm.
and they can even trace their family tree back generations.
Wow. Like a whole history report for your dog.
Kinda, yeah.
That's amazing. But what about those personality insights?
Oh, yeah.
How do they show that stuff?
Some companies have a separate report
Okay.
that looks at specific genes that might be linked to behavior.
Okay.
So it might say things like how strong their prey drive is,
Uh-huh.
if they're sensitive to noises or new things, or if they're likely to be, say, more playful and more reserved.
So it's not a full-on personality test, but it gives you some ideas.
It gives you some clues.
Clues. Yeah.
And you got to remember, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
Right. Environment and training matter, too.
Huge factors.
But it's cool to have that genetic insight
It can really help you train them in a way that works best for them.
and understand their needs.
Exactly.
So it's all about helping owners give their Cane Corso the best life.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how much we can learn now.
It really is.
Thanks to these DNA tests.
They're opening up so many new ways to understand our dogs.
This whole deep dive has been incredible.
It has.
I feel like we've uncovered so many cool things about Cane Corsos.
We've only scratched the surface, though.
There's always more to learn, right?
Always.
Huge shout out to our listener for sending in all the sources. Your questions make these deep dives possible.
We appreciate it so much.
For anyone out there thinking about DNA testing their Cane Corso,
Do it.
do it. You won't regret it.
You might be surprised by what you learn.
It's a journey worth taking.
And the best part is using what you learn to connect with your dog even more.
That's what it's all about. Until next time, happy tail wags, everyone.